A new shocking report reveals who the Rams could have had at the quarterback position if Matthew Stafford didn't come back. We're also discussing what Les Snead can do to potentially trade for a replacement for Tyler Higbee at tight end. All on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron. Remember, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor. Press the subscribe button now, as roughly 69.6% of you guys are watching the videos, but you're still not subscribed to the channel. So do me the favor. Press that subscribe button so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. First things first, I do want to get into this story here, as we were talking about kind of a funny one, where I almost had who. Now, this is kind of being brought to our attention by Sean McVay himself. He kind of came out, must have been asked a specific question about this topic, but discussed who the Rams could have had at quarterback and how it was a real possibility that this guy could have been the Rams' new quarterback this season. Of course, I get it. Not everybody loves the hypothetical storylines, but hey, Sean McVay is bringing it to the table. I'm going to bring it up and discuss it because it is intriguing. After everything that's happened with Aaron Rodgers, everything we've heard off the field from Aaron Rodgers, just the constant quotes and the not signing with the Steelers and all these kind of ways he's been going about his business, not a very Rams way of doing things, yet still this story comes out. Head coach Sean McVay confirms Steelers Aaron Rodgers could have signed with the Rams. This comes to us from the Steelers Wire. Andrew Vasquez obviously writing this, so we appreciate you for giving us this story. But yeah, very intriguing, right? Why is Sean McVay discussing this? Why is he talking about it again? Probably asked a very specific question here, but Aaron Rodgers isn't really a guy that we think kind of makes sense for the Rams, right? We talked about this a lot of episodes ago, a few months ago, when this was a potential possibility of signing him. It was interesting. We were discussing it, but overall, Aaron Rodgers being a replacement for Stafford felt more like if Stafford decides to move on or if he decides to retire, and you want to win now, this kind of does make some sense. And of course, obviously, the Davante Adams connection would have made everything kind of go in together, kind of fall into place like a nice puzzle, right? So when we're discussing this, Sean McVay, this is what he had to say about the topic of conversation. He says, I think our first priority, which was consistently communicated, was let's work something out with Matthew Stafford. We were very fortunate that it worked out that way. If that wasn't able to occur, then signing Rodgers was definitely a conversation, a possibility for us. I have a ton of respect for his body of work. I've gotten to know Aaron and really enjoy the conversations, the approach, and the way he thinks about the game and in life. So that was a possibility. But our first priority was always to get Matthew back. So, again, obviously this probably comes to us from, hey, Aaron Rodgers just signed. We heard rumors about the Rams being intrigued or interested. A reporter probably brought it up to his attention, saying, hey, you have Davante Adams now. Was it a possibility ever in the room to actually bring in Aaron Rodgers to the team? I do find the part where he talks about, Aaron Rodgers and his process and the game specifically. I understand Aaron Rodgers obviously is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and in life is so very intriguing because, Sean McVay and the Rams have built a very strong culture here in Los Angeles with the Rams. I think they've really built a kind of hard-nosed, Davante Adams talked about this actually recently in an interview as well at OTAs, basically saying the way the Rams kind of have handled things, the way they approach the game, the way they kind of are part of that family, right? The kicker's talking to the quarterback. Davante Adams himself is talking to players he may have not thought he was going to ever talk to, typically on other teams in the past he's played on the last few years, right? And so they do have a system in place to where, hey, this team feels like a family. They play well together. They fit well together. And that's kind of the culture the Rams have built. Aaron Rodgers, from what we've seen outside looking in, of course, doesn't really fit all of that. So I do find it interesting that this was a possibility for the Rams. Again, we talked about maybe that'd be a hope if Stafford retired or decided to move on to a new team. But ultimately, we don't have to worry about all of that. Aaron Rodgers is happy, I'm sure, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we are very happy with Matthew Stafford being our quarterback here in Los Angeles. But, hey, Sean McVay saying, hey, it was a real possibility that it could have happened this season. We could have seen Aaron Rodgers in a Rams uniform. Very, very, just kind of interesting. That's all. Moving on from that, another kind of hypothetical. Okay, so bear with me here. But trade for another tight end, right? Why are we discussing this? A very interesting story came up. Sorry if you hear my dog kind of going in, scratching a little bit with her collar. Trade for another tight end. Why are we discussing this? Well, look, the Rams do have a rookie tight end right now. He looks and seems to be Terrence Ferguson, right? Having some great moments in OTAs. We're hearing a lot of positive things from Terrence Ferguson. Tyler Higbee as well, obviously being in the building, kind of seeming to be in a positive, moving forward, it seems like he's going to be potentially healthy this season. And if he can be healthy the whole season, you have a pretty good tight end and a backup tight end option, as well as some good tight end depth, right? Overall, we've seen what these tight ends can do, from Colby Parkinson to everybody else in the depth chart. Obviously, the Rams have capable tight ends right now in the room. But I don't think you can ever get, too many good players, right? And I think the Rams could potentially look into any way to improve their roster. Here is a Rams trade pitch that brings in former All-Pro tight end to town. This comes to us from Heavy Sports, heavy on Rams, but also was kind of talked about in terms of the perspective of Baltimore moving on from this player. Obviously, kind of spoiled who we're talking about here. We were talking about the Rams potentially trading for Mark Andrews, and kind of this comes to us from Fox, I believe, or NBC. Was having this conversation, kind of discussing the possibility of, hey, Baltimore, this is how you should kind of see the situation. You see him kind of deteriorating as a player. He's not the player he used to be. At least doesn't have that connection with Lamar Jackson that he used to have in Baltimore. And so maybe it's time to move on from a player like Mark Andrews. Well, the general manager, I believe, Eric DeCosta, right, we're talking about for the Baltimore Ravens, he says you never know what will happen, but he's valued here. So that's obviously very rocky, not very ideal for Baltimore fans. So if you are in the room in Baltimore and you're talking from that perspective, are you going to trade Mark Andrews? And if you're the Rams, you can say you like Terrence Ferguson. You can say you like Tyler Higbee. Are either guy really going to be a Pro Bowl player next season? That's a question mark. Is Mark Andrews himself going to be a Pro Bowl player next season? I don't know. But I will say at this point in time, I still think he could possibly be a better, more consistent player than Tyler Higbee is. And we don't know what Terrence Ferguson will do in his NFL career yet. So he would probably be a better player than Terrence Ferguson as well. So if you're a Rams fan, if you're talking to Les Snead, obviously all you guys are Rams fans, but as a Rams fans, how do you guys feel? Do you guys want to potentially continue to add more and more talent to the roster? Remember, the Rams already have 2 first-round picks next year, so do you really care about this third-round pick if it costs you a third-round pick to get a guy like Mark Andrews in the building, and do you want to go do that? I believe he's making somewhere around like $7 million a year. Do you want to go do that for a guy who used to be an all-pro player, could potentially still do that at this point in his career? I believe he just turned 30 or about to turn 30, so is this something we want the Rams to do? Do you want to keep going and getting some more veteran pieces, right? We talked about them maybe getting Jair Alexander here on the Rams Digest. We talked about them maybe getting Jalen Ramsey in a couple weeks if he's released from his contract. Now, maybe Mark Andrews, right? Maybe you want to keep and continuing to get better on both sides of the football, or are you guys okay with what you have in the tight end room? Let me know how you guys feel about it in the comment section down below. Just kind of an idea I think could be something to watch and look out for potentially the Rams and, of course, other teams looking into getting Mark Andrews onto their roster. Moving on from that, last but not least, my favorite part of the episode, where I ask a trivia question and you give your trivia guesses down below in the comment section. Whether you're right or whether you're wrong, we give you a shout out on the next episode. For those who missed last episode's trivia of the day, this was a question we posed on the last episode. We asked the people, who was the last non-quarterback to win MVP? We also had a couple of very interesting guesses. Multiple people guessed and played along, so I appreciate all of you guys. We'll pull you guys up in a second, but I wanted to give the multiple choice options from last episode, if I could find it here, and I always end up losing the questions. Okay, here we go. Last episode trivia of the day, who was the last non-quarterback to win MVP? The multiple choice options we had were A, Sean Alexander, B, Ray Lewis, C, Adrian Peterson, or D, LaDainian Tomlinson. We had a few of you guys guess along here on the YouTube comments, so I want to give you guys a shout out for a second. If you missed this trivia of the day, don't worry about it. We'll have another one in just a couple of minutes. Here are these shout outs from last episode. We had Raymond saying easy money, Adrian Peterson. We had Floyd saying Todd Gurley, question mark. I think he was maybe responding to a different question. Maybe I'm not, maybe I'm crazy. Floyd, if you asked Todd Gurley, he wasn't a multiple choice option, but I appreciate your guess here. The Real J Will saying, I think it was LT. One game he threw, ran, and caught a TD that season, if I remember right. We had Aaron Dog saying running back Adrian Peterson of the Vikes. We had Adrian Peterson coming from Tanner G said, I think non-quarterbacks should get more consideration in MVP voting. In general, it's way too rare nowadays. I really do agree with that. Adrian Peterson at this point feels like he's been out of the league for a couple of years now, right? And he's still the last guy to win MVP. Oh, I just spoiled who was correct here, by the way. I'll tell you guys in a second. T1 Porter says Adrian Peterson. We had Thomas saying, I think it was LT. We had Blake saying, I will leave. It was Adrian Peterson coming off his injury. We had Glider saying LaDainian Tomlinson. I already kind of spoiled it if you heard me. My mistake. But the correct answer was Adrian Peterson. He was the last non-quarterback to win MVP of the league. And like I said, it feels like AP has been out of the league for kind of a while now, right? And we have still yet to see another non-quarterback win since then. So it's kind of, and that was, he played for a long time after he won the MVP season. So kind of interesting. I don't know why non-quarterbacks don't win the MVP award as much as they should. Quarterback is obviously a very important position, and they lead the team 90% of the time, it feels like. But at the same time, a lot of great players out there who deserve MVP nods. Here were all the people who played along with the last trivia of the day. Again, whether you're right, whether you're wrong, I appreciate all of you guys for playing along with the trivia of the day. Every time you guys do it, I really do appreciate it. If you want to shout out just like these folks on the next episode, then go ahead and play along with today's trivia of the day, which is this question here. Today's trivia of the day is this question. We said, how many Heisman Trophy winners have gone on to be MVP of the Super Bowl? This one's a little bit tough. A number guess. I kind of can understand why these ones can be a little bit tougher than others, so don't freak out if you guys can't get this one right. This one's kind of a shot in the dark for most people, I think. So, again, how many Heisman Trophy winners have gone on to be MVP of the Super Bowl? I even had a question mark on this question, but the multiple choice options are here. Is it A, 2? Is it B, 3? Is it C, 4? Or is it D, 5? How many Heisman Trophy winners, so they won the Heisman Trophy in college, have gone on to be MVP of the Super Bowl? Is it 2, 3, 4, or 5? Give your guesses down below in the comment section. Whether you're right or whether you're wrong, we'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Other than that, that's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. Please remember to subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. We really do appreciate it, Josh and I. That's going to do it for me on today's episode. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I am out.